thank you everyone for joining, especially all the men that we have as well. That's great. So this specific webinar today, we'll be discussing female mentoring in business. Obviously, mentoring in business is awesome and really, really key for everyone, male and female, male to male, male to female, and vice versa. But just in data and AI, there are so few women that actually female to female mentoring is quite rare, quite hard to occur. So we're just kind of discussing the benefits of why we should maybe be more proactive about seeking that out. That's what we're going to kind of talk about today. You know, it's definitely not anti-men in any way. We celebrate both genders, but we just know that there's differences, and so you get benefits of both. So we're going to discuss how to get a female mentor. Apologies if that's my dog in the background. Discuss how to get a female mentor, kind of the best ways of going about it, how to make the most out of female mentorships, the benefits both to the individuals and organisation, and then kind of advice. So we'll also kind of be giving you the opportunity maybe to get yourself a female mentor or be a female mentor if you want to, because it's quite hard. We've realised like a lot of people have kind of asked about this. So if you email womenindata@ltsdata.com, the same email address to get the invite for this with your CV, we will then kind of schedule a short kind of intro session, then just try and get you matched up with someone. Obviously, it's kind of limited places, but please do kind of reach out. It would be great to kind of hear from you. So the two amazing women that are with me tonight are Prathy and Jese, who are mentor-mentee. So Prathy is Jese's mentor and Jese is Prathy's mentee. So Prathy is a leader in the Power Platform space with an MVP status and leads user groups in this area. Is it the London Power BI user group? Yeah. Awesome. And then Jese is her mentee and is growing her online presence in the Power Platform community with Jese's Power channel. Is it, Jese?
Yep, that's right.
Awesome. And was shortlisted in the 2020 Women in IT Awards. Was it Women in Tech?
Yeah, Women in IT Awards. That's the one.
Awesome. So let's kind of kick off then about how to kind of get a female mentor. Like, how did you guys go about becoming kind of paired in a mentor relationship?
So I approached Prathy. So it was something I'd been thinking about for a while, wanting to have someone to speak to and kind of have that almost like a role model type relationship as well. And Prathy runs the London Power BI user group, as you mentioned. So when I went to those sessions, I was like, oh, that's that's the person I want to speak to. And just like you do when you cold call businesses, I cold called Prathy and I was like, hi, I'm just wondering if you'd be my mentor. And it was, if I had never asked, then Prathy would have never been my mentor. So I guess that's really important. If there is someone out there that you kind of aspire to or look up to, etc., don't be afraid to ask. The worst they can say is no, and then it's okay. Nothing will happen.
Yeah, well, I think I want to add something to that. Is before that, actually, I already knew Jese. I mean, I don't know her personally, but I've seen her before. Like, before she actually came to me and asking me, like, oh, Prathy, can you be my mentor? But I've seen her a couple of times. I spoke to her a couple of times. So it's not like don't just go and ask me, can you be my mentor?
True.
Yeah. But Jese used to come to user group quite regularly, and she used to work at Heathrow then. And she was very inquisitive, and she was like easy to talk to. And she used to take part in things like, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be anything intelligent or anything. It's just saying hi. That's how you can start. And that's how we kind of started communicating. And that's after that, Jese asked me.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a complete cold calling.
Yeah.
But then I guess being in the same spaces and stuff and just kind of reaching out, because I guess that was probably a bit of a compliment as well, Prathy. It wasn't like a bother to be, even if you had said no to Jese, like it must have been quite a compliment just to kind of
to somebody come and ask to be a mentor. Of course, it was definitely a compliment, and also somebody like Jese asking is also like, it's a good thing. It's like and also it's there was a thing. I always wanted a mentor, but I was not there enough to go and ask somebody. I always thought they would judge me. I may not be good enough to be for them to be a
Yeah.
mentee for certain person. But whole mentor-mentee relationship is to not judge others and just help. But I was judging myself to be able to go and even ask. I used to have my own ghost mentors that I thought, oh, they are my mentor. I would like to be them, like that. But I never had like a proper nice proper mentor. So when she asked me, I was like really happy to do it.
So I guess, yeah, also sometimes then you might have mentors that you consider mentors, but maybe they don't even know that you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, maybe kind of formalizing that, like I'm sure, again, as you said, it was really nice to hear that. And so people that you might kind of look up to, don't be afraid to kind of ask and make it a little bit more formal. But were you kind of worried about, Prathy, about the amount of potential work it might have been for you?
Um, uh, I I think I was not worried about amount of work it's gonna be, but I was more like I want to be a good mentor. That was
Yeah,
my
the
worry.
pressure of that.
And then yeah, and then I was like I started looking up on like what mentor does. And then I started looking up on like reading blog posts and stuff and things like that and trying to understand, like filter out. And that's when it made me a bit intimidated. I was like, oh my God, am I really good enough to be a mentor? Can I really actually help her? So it did feel that way. But I think once I started, it kind of pushed me as well to be a better person. So
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So yeah, but I was not worried about how much work it involves. I actually quite liked it. It's like I can actually talk to somebody about this work stuff and have a nice new friendship.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe not putting it on a kind of a pedestal of like mentor, has got to be absolutely perfect and everything that I want to be. It's just being a bit more kind of relaxed about it of
Uh-huh.
actually, we're all learning. There are obviously some kind of training courses that we've kind of been on internally about how to be a good mentor or mentee, but you kind of make it what you need it to be because it's got to be so personal, right?
Yes, yeah. Actually, I do want to add that. So when Jessie asked me to be her mentor, I was a freelancer. So I was a contractor. And so I was dedicating time to her, but there was like some personal issues in my life and things like that. So I didn't plan it really well, I'll be honest. But after that, I became a full timer. Luckily, me and Jesse work in the same place, which is,
yeah,
and then actually having a formal structure and where I'm working, it's also helping it. Like, them giving this extra training and what to do and all those things. It actually helped me. We actually meet up more often now than we did
definitely.
initially.
Yeah.
I think that's because it's the organizational push as well. It's not
Yeah.
only personal thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I guess that's the
so
important thing to kind of make it quite regular. So kind of have those monthly catch-ups. And as Prathy mentioned, we were really lucky in the fact that during lockdown even we live pretty close to each other. So we were able to go for social distancing walks and it was just, it's great to be able to work that into your day, but also have it structured in terms of timeliness as well.
yeah, and making it easy, right? So that it's
Yeah.
not hard
It's
work
not,
to
yeah, exactly.
meet up or speak or make that effort. Um, yeah, so I guess it kind of in summary, how to get a female mentor is, people that you look up to. Don't kind of be afraid to reach out and don't be afraid to accept one either.
Yeah.
Even if it's
Yep.
just kind of women that
Yep.
you see at events and things.
Yep.
Obviously kind of via us, but it's just really important for businesses, I think, maybe to kind of try and put those things in
Definitely.
place because it is quite
Yeah.
hard and to have
Yeah.
those trainings and things.
Yeah.
um so if we talk about how to like get the most out of female mentorships then, so kind of both ways, what, especially for you, Jesse, like what made you think that having a mentor was a success? Because obviously you asked for it. How did it like meet your expectations?
Yep. So, personally speaking, me and Prathy work in the same industry, which I don't think is completely necessary in order to have that mentor-mentee relationship. But that was huge. I mean, I was able to kind of speak about how Prathy's career had developed over the last years, and then to think about how I could also kind of start that journey. Also about networking as well, so introducing to other people within that industry, and also just kind of bouncing ideas and having a safe space to ask questions that I might not really want to ask in my workplace, whether it's about promotions or how pay works and how, all these things that.
We lost Jesse.
Yeah, I think we lost Jesse.
Oh,
that's a shame. Well, I'm sure she'll come back. Sorry, Jesse, we lost you for a bit.
We lost you at the end there.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
What was the last thing you heard?
Oh, well, I don't mind hearing all again.
So you were kind of talking about networks and groups and
yeah. So I think the next thing I was saying is about the safe space to ask questions. So essentially, having that ability to have someone that you can trust and bounce ideas off, but also someone that may be a little bit further on in their career as well, to get advice on what, kind of what they've been through and how that can help you as well.
Yeah. So, because I was doing a bit of research into this as well before this, and again, the kind of differences potentially between male mentors and female mentors, and maybe having a bit of both, and you don't just limit it to one. You have different mentors at different points in your career, right? But females, do release more oxytocin. They are, they are rewarded in their brains for more pro-social behavior, whereas men aren't. And so they do tend to be, obviously there's a scale for everything, but they do tend to be more empathetic, more trustworthy, compassionate, generous. And so sometimes that can really help in regards to a specific type of mentor. Sometimes you want a mentor who is actually more, pushy and more bolshy with you. But actually, and again, it's a scale, but sometimes that might help some of those things that you potentially weren't getting already in your, because I think before, Jesse, you were only working with men, was that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's quite a common thing now as well. We are in a very male-dominated environment, so even being able to share those experiences, it's very nice to have kind of like someone else in like a similar boat, essentially, and just any kind of advice on navigating that space. And also, it's worth touching on now kind of ethnic diversity as well, that element of things. So both being from ethnic groups, and again, sharing those experiences and that cognitive thinking, and that's been really helpful as well in this relationship.
Yeah, I think we've just been very lucky as well. I think we have to mention that as well. It's like we have like a bit of cultural similarities as well, and I mean, what it helps is, like I mentioned with you guys before, but I would say it again. It's like, for Jessie, when she saw me, I mean, this is how I would have felt if I saw myself, like another Indian woman there talking and doing things. I would have definitely gone and talked with her. I mean, like it's just easy. It's easy to communicate, and I think that's what just helped Jessie to reach me as well. Is like because it's easy to connect to, and it's not only Indian or any cultural thingy, but like if you see another woman out there, it makes it easy for you to go and talk to them, and it makes it easy for you to relate. It's like I can go and talk to them. If obviously it's like you personally have to have that appetite to do better. And then like you can see somebody and you feel like, oh, maybe I could ask them, how can I do better? So I think that's where it all starts. And this having a female mentorship is what's the difference between, as you said, Rhian, is like the science behind it. It feels like it's like girlfriend, like having, there are so many research, it says it's like it's so important for women to have girlfriends. It's very important. Even I have some really my best friends, like I have a friend here called Aiga, and it's like whenever every single time I meet her, it gives me extra energy. And even
Yeah.
when we guys catch up, it gives me
Definitely.
extra
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah,
That
absolutely. And that's not to say that men don't need that as well. It's just there is, as you said, a lot of research about women's happiness is more dependent on relationships, on external relationships than men. And so, yeah, making sure that you kind of got that happiness and that energy, as you said. But I totally agree. When we catch up, we love it. I can't talk to you guys
exactly.
enough.
I know, and I like that. And also, I think the other thing is also important. Why female to female mentorship is important is like because we all know there is a problem. We all know there are not enough female in like, we go to any project. Most of the times there is like I'm the only person,
Yeah.
and then
Exactly.
there are
Yeah.
Jesse join.
Yeah.
So it's like very few people. And I got so used to be the only female in a team,
Yeah.
and I think that's not right. And that's the only way you could encourage that is having another female
Yeah,
and let them talk to each other
yeah,
and
I mean, it's
share.
almost you get so used to it that
Yeah,
sometimes people don't recognize it, or I don't feel like anyone else has recognized the fact that there's a slide full of men and there isn't a single woman on there. And I think, wonder if anyone's noticed. Like,
yeah. And I think sometimes we even don't realize what we're missing when we're just
yeah,
working with men all the time. It's like, oh well, I'm doing fine. So what am I missing?
yeah,
But it's not until it's that, as you said, that kind of cognitive diversity and making sure you've got that different
exactly.
thinking. Because if you're just in that river of thought, very hard to kind of move out unless there's like an external um, stimulation really to make that
yeah,
happen.
true. And female mentorship helps that. It
Yeah.
helps the individual, and also it helps as a team. Like for the whole
Yeah.
organization, it helps massively.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. As a team, when you're delivering to clients, but
Mm.
also when you're making decisions in the workplace, right? The kind of internal decisions about.
Yeah.
Um, I just wanted to kind of talk to you about your kind of mentoring kind of relationship. So, is it quite formal? I know you said you kind of meet up, but do you have do you plan meetings? Do you have goals? That kind of thing. How does it work?
We definitely plan meetings. So I mean, like we plan ahead, like when do we want to catch up and stuff like that. Especially in this pandemic, it's like before we used to catch up in the office and like sometime in a coffee and stuff.
Yeah.
But now we are doing walks, and like it's quite nice. We do like a 1 long hour-ish walk, and we talk about there is no perfect structure. I mean, like I know there are a few things I want to talk about, and I'm sure Jesse would like to add something to it. Like she has her own way of preparing for it. But I
Yeah.
personally, I just prepare myself like what I want to ask, like what did I ask before, and what I want to ask this time. That is pretty much what I prepare. And after the meeting, if there are any questions like Jesse asked that I didn't manage to, like some Twitter account or some YouTube account or stuff like that, I'll send her the notes afterwards. But I'm sure like Jesse may have different way of preparing for the meetings.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely about speaking about what we spoke about last time. And then it's kind of when you've told someone you're going to do something or you've checked in on someone, it's that accountability piece.
Held to
And having a
account. Yeah.
mentor is accountability on your goals. It's like, well, and it's not even, Prathy's not going to turn around and said, you said you were going to do this. Why didn't you do that? Because, that's not the relationship we have. But it's more about for yourself having that accountability that you have this mentor that you look up to and you've spoken to about XYZ that you're planning on doing or you're aspiring to achieve, and then checking in with them and said, I mentioned this and this is what I've done now. And then also then about the future, if there's anything in the future coming up. But I guess it's also being able to share both ways as well. So helping each other is really important. So I think we spoke about this earlier when we were catching up. So like getting into YouTube aspects, like we were actually able to talk about the technology we were using, about cameras and speakers, and I shared my experiences in terms of what I've learned on the journey as well. So I guess a mentor-mentee relationship doesn't have to be one way. You can definitely learn from each other, and that's really important as well. For anyone out there that's actually thinking of not only becoming a mentee, but also becoming a mentor as well.
Yeah. And we talk about like a non-technical stuff too, like relationships and
Yeah.
life and it's like there was various things, but I think that is what made our relationship strong. And also that's when I say we are lucky, because we can actually talk about so many other things because we come from similar culture.
Yeah.
And I think if you share something personal about yourself, and this doesn't obviously just have to be a mentor relationship, then you kind of make yourself a bit vulnerable, and then you get into that safe space and you start to create a deeper and more meaningful relationship when you're both kind of vulnerable and honest, I guess. And I think, Jesse, what you were saying was really, really interesting about holding to account. And you might not have spent as much time or done it as quickly of spending time on yourself and your career, because life is busy, right?
Yeah.
But when you've got this mentor and mentee relationship, you're held to account, and so you have to put it ahead of some things. And I think, you've kind of got that matrix of like urgent, not urgent, important, not important. And that not urgent but important, normally working on your own career and working on yourself is normally in that quarter. But because it's not urgent, it normally kind of drops to the bottom. But I guess having a mentor will make it potentially more urgent, and so you'll work on it and give yourself time to work on it.
And coming back to that kind of more female aspect, of course, men and females, we all go through this, but I guess in particular, I'm at a stage where I may want to have a family eventually. So not right this second, but eventually. And it's just interesting to kind of speak to someone else that's been through that and have share experiences and understand what it's like having a completely full-on career and then also raising a family. And that aspect of things is, I guess, that personal side that Prathy definitely touched on. So yeah, that's been really helpful as well. So it's not only the professional side, it's the personal side that helps the professional side as well.
Yeah. And what's something
which is very important. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. What Jesse had said before was I thought it was really interesting, not just having a job but having a career. And that's something that I never really thought about. I just kind of use them interchangeably, but they're very different. Yeah.
Totally. I mean, that's totally true. And this is something I've mentioned when we were talking before. Is like it's the same thing for me. Is like I worked towards not to have a job. I worked towards having a career, and I think this is where I want to talk about the culture where I come from. As I mentioned before, it's like I was born in India, and there is no problem with women in IT in India. It's just like there are so many women who works in IT. That's not a problem at all. But most of the times, what I've seen, and this is something you see everywhere, is like there are women and there are leaders, and there is a huge gap between that. And when you see like most of the execs are also men, you don't see those things. So I think it's because there are women are working. It's not like women are not working. Women are working, but they're working towards a job. They're not working towards a career. And Jesse is a great example who is working towards a career. And I think that is one reason why I was like honored to be a mentor for Jesse, is because she is a example. Like, even when she came to see me at my home, when my 10 11 years old daughter, that time when she saw her, like I told her, like, Jesse, she came here to be because we were mentor and mentee. So it's like an example for the next generation as well, like, so I think that is very important for everyone to work towards a career than just stick to a job.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm aware that we're running out of time. Obviously, I think we all know that we could probably talk about this for hours. If we just kind of, I think we've kind of touched on it anyway, just the benefits, I think both to you, but also the companies that, the company that you both work for, what do you think the company is, how will that will benefit from setting up mentorships for females in the company?
Because you're going to have your employees really striving for, as Prathy mentioned, a career, and therefore growing yourself and thinking about goals and the future. I think all companies will definitely benefit from not just having someone that's just doing their tasks in their box, because otherwise they're not, being intuitive, they're not being creative in their job and taking it that step further. So yeah, that's definitely the
And I think just
benefit of that.
retaining women,
Yeah, that's
encouraging
true.
them encouraging them to progress. Um, if women are happier in their jobs, then they're much more likely to do that. If they feel like they've got a safe space and can ask the questions, especially more awkward questions around kind of maternity or pay rises, if they feel like they can, then you will stay around longer, right? I know I would anyway.
Yeah, I mean it's very it's like not only those things, like us being consultants, and when you go on a project, and there are many times where it's like you go on a project, and it could be a really complex project, and having a good boss, and having somebody you could talk to, and like most of the times it's probably very easy thing to talk to, but you don't know, is it okay to talk about it or not. But like having a female mentor makes it like, hey, I'm thinking of this, what do you think about it? Yeah, that's perfect, you should just go and talk to your boss. And
Yeah,
like so I think that feel like it gives you that gentle an extra comfort. It's
yeah,
like and it doesn't only go for mentor and mentee, because I mean there are many things I asked Jesse. It's like it helps me. It
yeah,
helped me so much in various ways.
yeah.
And
And you kind of
and
touched on that before as well about the YouTube. But also Jesse, you've set up your YouTube channel, kind of basically since having a mentor, right? And
Yep,
that's going really
exactly.
well.
Yep, it is indeed. So that was something I started in lockdown. But I mean, I'd speak to Prathy many times over the last few years and be like, how do you keep coming up with content? How do you do this? And how do you do that? And just getting advice. It's not a do this guide. It's more of a how have your experiences been in the space of sharing in the community? I think that's quite an important thing to touch on as well. We keep coming back to this community aspect. I guess me and Prathy's relationship are quite unique in the fact that we are both sharing in the Power Platform community. Of course, that might not be the case for everyone on the call that's looking for a mentor or mentee, but I do think it's very important, especially in the tech space, to be sharing in social media, in blog posts, and actually just to showcase what you can do and to help others, because that's definitely going to help you grow and help to grow your online profile and therefore your career.
And
yeah,
getting women's faces out there, right, as well.
Definitely.
yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean it personally, it helped me a lot having the attending community events. And so it helps when you know people. They set an example, and also it's easy. It helps you in various ways. It's like a unlimited possibilities. So and yeah, and I think even for organizations, I'm sure, like there many people come from different organizations. It is very important internally as well to open up that space for the people to come and talk about what they're doing and like how to do those things. And I think, and again, we are very lucky to be able to have that space. I mean, like where we work, we have so many possibilities, and
Yeah.
it's so easy to talk to anyone as well, which is amazing. I mean, like I worked at so many places and I haven't seen that. So having that kind of platform internally and externally is very important.
I'm just going to go into some of the questions.
Hmm.
So there's a great one, RS. I don't know if that's Rishi or not. And what do I need to be aware of when I mentor females? I'm sure there are blind spots. How can I be more sensitive and aware of them? And this is awesome. Obviously, sometimes it is hard to compare, right? Because you know what you know, and sometimes you assume everyone else does. But do you have any ideas?
I guess the first one that comes to my mind is just being in like very male dominated areas and just asking your mentee, how is the gender ratio, or do you feel like you're listened to, or do you feel like you can advance in your career, and just kind of opening that space by bringing that into the space like very obviously, and not
Head on.
letting your mentee come up with that conversation. So just really just saying, how does it feel being a woman, like in that space, that is, not just a woman overall.
Well, that too, maybe as well.
Well, I think to add to that, like just be like a just like any natural person, a normal person. Like in first meeting, when you meet a friend, like somebody, a stranger, you don't suddenly go and do like, oh my God, this is this, and like that. But
Yeah,
you
very
gradually
true.
improve the relationship. So if you have a female mentor, then ask what they want. What are their expectations? And what are you, I mean, if a female came to male asking for be my mentor, or like if it happened through organization, whatever, then ask what is the mentees expecting from you,
Yeah.
and maybe go from that way. And once you has build up that relationship, then you could start giving some guidance like I understand you're doing this way, but I feel like maybe you should do this way. And I personally feel like male mentors probably help us in various ways, because
Massively.
like yeah, because like they are, as you said, we two different type of people. So yeah, they help
It's
us.
good to balance maybe, and maybe
Yeah,
it's kind of advising the mentee to also maybe have a kind of a female mentor as well, or maybe not overdoing it because of time and things, but making sure that they have that kind of link to a female if they want to
Yeah.
talk.
I
But
love
also,
that comment. Sorry.
no, go on.
I just think I love that comment that you made, Prathy, about because I recognize this now. Like sometimes you do often ask me, "How can I help you?" And sometimes the question stumps me because I'm like, I need to, and then I go away and think about it, and I come back, and yeah, it just opens a space to really get your mentee to think about what do you want from this relationship, or how can I help you? Yeah.
Well, I guess we don't tend to kind of think back and kind of be reflective,
Yeah.
especially when we're working so hard and kind of head on. This is a really
I
good
think
one
I
as well.
got that from Suits. Sorry, go on.
um, how do you know if you're ready for a mentor? Because Prathy, you kind of touched on that earlier. Like, how much of a difference is there from being a teacher and a mentor as well? So,
Mm.
Prathy, do you want to kind of pick that one up? Because obviously you kind of went through that.
How
Kind
do
of
you know when you can be a mentor is like when you are never ready, when you are never perfect? I think that's something, I mean, and why I get that from is like I wanted to speak to people, and me being coming from India, English was I didn't study English until I was 15 years, like until I was like a year six.
amazing.
I started learning alphabets in year seven.
Wow.
Um, so from that way, speaking in front of people is so difficult for me, and I was struggling so much. And in the community, Chris Webb, it's like I'm sure many people know him, and like he was like he introduced me to speaking in a user group, and I said like, oh my god, I'm so nervous. And I was like, that's good, you should be nervous, that means it's you want to do good. And like, and he also mentioned like you never be ready, so you should just go and do it.
Yeah.
And my first session was 5 people.
Okay.
And
Great. So, but you still did it.
yeah, I still did it. And so I think that it's same applies to mentoring as well. It's like you're never ready. And if somebody came to you asking to be a mentor, I'm sure you could definitely they will either learn to I follow this. Whenever you meet somebody, you either learn how to be or how not to be. I'm sure they will learn
True.
something.
Also, what we did on the mentorship that we started here at Altius was I kind of did like a natural break after 6 months so that people didn't feel tied to that person as well.
Mhm.
So, if actually it's not really working for either of you or both of you, you kind of got that natural like kind of break of like, that was really good, that was a good test, but now I've learned what I do like or what helps or what doesn't. Um,
And I
this is
think that natural break is good because you don't have to, you may not always learn the same thing from everyone. So I
Yeah.
think
Very
that's a
true.
very good one. Yeah.
yeah. Um, she also or he it's anonymous also asked how much of a difference is there from being a teacher to a mentor? What do you think?
Um, I think, oh my God, that's a really tough question.
I think being a teacher is very much like do this,
One way.
it's do that. It is very one way, exactly. And it doesn't, okay, I guess you can open up the space a little bit as a teacher, but a lot of it is just imparting your knowledge and saying this is how things are done. That's not what a mentor does. A mentor suggests, a mentor coaches.
Ah, such good advice. We can't hear
I
it.
know. Yeah. I think Jesse was just right on the point. Is yeah, mentor
A mentor.
relationship is more like a friendship.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, having that kind of
Very
structure.
professional friendship.
Yeah, very professional friendship. I like it.
Yeah.
So this is a really good question from Sue. I'm wondering what stops women from mentoring other women, if anything, because for me, I've never stopped to kind of think about it. And I don't know whether women actually actively don't because they don't want to, you know, consider themselves a clique, or, you know, they don't want to kind of marginalize themselves, or actually there's just so few women that actually it's quite rare.
I
What do you think?
kind of extend that to think not just women, but I don't know if everyone has a mentor. I don't know if it's like kind of, I guess pushed is the wrong word, but encouraged enough in organizations. Like it's not put as a priority. It's your priority is just to get your job done. And that, you know, yeah, I think it's an overall say problem, not just amongst women, but again amongst everyone. That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think mentoring should be like a pair programming on every project.
Yeah.
Person has to mentor somebody. Or
Yeah.
be like I think, yeah, but it shouldn't be like like very forced, but a gentle way.
Gentle nudge.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one, if you think about opening your business, is a mentor entrepreneur more advised or person who works for a big company who can share great practices? So, you know,
So, can you say that again?
yeah, if you think about opening your own business, is a mentor entrepreneur more advised or a person who works for a big company who could share big practices? So if you're thinking to start your own business, I guess, you know, what kind of mentor would be best? Someone who's an entrepreneur or someone who works for a big company who can share great practices?
It's very specific, but I'd go with the entrepreneur question, but I feel like I'm answering a quiz question.
Well, I think it depends upon what you want. It's like, you know, do you want to grow your company to be big? Then of course you need to learn from somebody who already made their company big. But if you're an entrepreneur, then maybe it's good to start with entrepreneur, and once you grow a bit more, go for another mentor.
Yeah, no, that's
You
great.
can have so many mentors.
Yeah, at different times in your life. And also
Exactly.
sometimes it's good to have an entrepreneur, might be in this entrepreneur, a mentor that is in the maybe, you know, relatable in the same kind of business, but actually is a bit different to you, or like is kind of maybe thinks a bit different to you, so that you kind of get that different perspective and that different advice. So it probably depends on the more of the personality rather than just the experiences.
Yeah. And I also think, like, you know, your mentor should not be so not achievable as well. Like, you know,
Yeah.
it should look like something achievable.
Yeah.
I mean, if that makes sense, it's like, you know, I
because
don't
you've got
want
to be able
to
to
lose 20
relate,
kgs
right?
immediately.
Relatable,
I want to lose 1 kg
relatability.
first and then go for 20 kgs. That's what I'm trying to explain.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair enough. So yeah, that makes sense about entrepreneur and then moving up. Where are we now? What in your opinion is most important about finding a mentor? The same domain knowledge or complementary skills, or a person you want to be in the future? Very kind of similar as well.
Yep. Again, combination of everything really. And as Prathy mentioned, like you can have many mentors in your life, so it depends on what you need at that point. And I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the call, and I stand by having a mentor in your space is, you know, massively helpful, but they don't have to be in your exact like field of work as per se. So that's another that's another way of going about finding a mentor or mentee as well.
Okay, so last question then. What do you think about mentors in your own team or company? Obviously, you guys are now in the same company, but you didn't start as the same company. Do you think the advantages outweigh the risk of opening up to someone who can influence your career? So obviously this kind of plays into actually what is a mentor and making sure that you have that safe space and that confidentiality.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, I mean, you have benefits of having internally and externally, because the thing is, it's like internally is like it's good internally. It helps the organization, like you are where you're working, and what you're doing, and like the things like that. But having externally helps in a different way. It's like a so I mean, again, I'm giving you my own example. Is like when I was talking to these different speakers and different consultants, and I was charging some rate, and then I speak to somebody, and then they were like who I was considering as a mentor. Like, whenever I have a situation, I always spoke to this person, and then he said, "Oh, Prathy, you should charge this one," and that was external. Like a so I think internally helps the organization, externally helps you. I mean, that's
Yeah.
in my personal opinion.
I guess also internally, I mean, again, this is my opinion. I don't think your manager can just be your mentor because they're way too close to you. They're not in the right, they affect your career directly. So that's not the right kind of person to be your mentor. So yeah, although internally could influence your mentor, I guess there should be enough distance that they're not. I mean, Prathy doesn't directly affect, my progression or anything like that. And I think that's
Yeah.
important because then it gets too muddled and
Yeah.
murky waters. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think senior execs, like, some leaders in the organization should be mentors.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's like
true. Yeah, that's very
I
true.
think they will be really good for being the mentor for younger people, and they could mentor a few people, and that way, like it's kind of even internally it helps them, like they have somebody to look up to. If you don't, like in a organization, if you don't have a woman in a senior position, then you feel like you don't have a mentor, and then you don't have a path to even think about.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
awesome. Fab. So just where we've only got like a minute or so left, do we want to just finish with you guys just kind of giving some real quick kind of advice for kind of females kind of in the tech and data and
yeah,
AI
I
space?
mean, I think my only advice for anyone is network, network, and network. I think that's helped me. And create your own profile. It's like use the social media, and or like blog or anything. Create your own profile, and that helps you. That's my that's one advice I would give to anyone.
Awesome.
So I can
Jesse?
add to that, to keep learning, keep pushing yourself. So don't get too comfortable. Get comfortable for a little while, enjoy it, and then move because that's I guess that's the key difference between a job and a career.
Yeah. Awesome. So thank you everyone for joining. I hope this was helpful or fun or anything that was a benefit to you. Our next webinar is in November 18th, and it is with Lara Russell Jones, who's an ex-consultant and founder of Apparently Kids, an organisation that provides kind of a curated list of vetted professionals to aid parents from pregnancy through to toddler. So we'll be discussing managing your career throughout pregnancy and maternity leave. We kind of go into specifics about, being pregnant at work, staying connected during your maternity leave, and kind of how to manage that kind of work-life balance, like when you come back from maternity leave. But thank you everyone, and especially thanks to Jesse and Prathy.
Thank you for
Thank you for
organizing
having
it.
us.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Cheers. Bye.